Hello there, guys. Welcome back to day 2 of following up like a pro and closing with compassion. And yesterday we talked about something I encourage you to do strongly to set up your prospecting. So as soon as someone says they are open to learning more, or just your prospecting question to them to see if they're even open to hearing a bit more about, why you do what you do, so there might be people that come to their mind that would be blessed by this business or the products like you were. But we talked about leading with your why. So before you're even sharing your third-party tool or your video or your whatever, you're really teeing them up. You're teeing up the third-party tools because they're just going to listen and watch from a whole new perspective when you get them in front of the third-party tools. But then after you share your why, you do want to, the saying is, sell the thing that's going to sell the thing, right? You want your third-party tools to be doing the selling for you or the talking for you through the videos or the sample. The less you can personally say to more people, the better. It's going to be much more duplicatable than you being the one that is actually saying. So again, you want the third party to do the talking for you, the third party tool. We talked about yesterday the red apples, green apples, and the rotten apples. We said that 80% of the people are going to be green apples, where it's just, they might even be pretty interested, but they haven't signed on the dotted line yet. So they're just sort of, not quite yet, or even no or not yet. I mean, those are all your green apples. We said that on average, you're going to have, a broad range for this number. But let's just say an average of 4 to 8 exposures for the average prospect to say yes to you for the products for the business. I mean, generally the business takes a bit more exposures probably than the product. But what is an exposure? We talked about it being a third-party tool. So it's just not you doing the talking. So I had mentioned before how in my team, we use the ATM system that's taught by the Meltons, ATM, add, tag, message. We actually call it ATM squared because it's add, tag, message. But we have a Facebook group where if someone's open to learning more, that's where we almost have like this repository of third-party tools. So that's a great third-party tool, a three-way chat with your upline or someone else that they can resonate with, a video, a sample, an online event. So let me share with you what that might look like for me. So you can be thinking about what that might look like for you. So if I say, are you open? And they say yes, then I'm going to lead with my why. And I shared with you before how I like to do it as an audio, and I send over the audio message. And then I say, and if this resonates with you at all, I've got a 3-minute video or an 8-minute video or whatever that might be that does a phenomenal job describing it. Are you open to taking a peek? So the first exposure is the why. And then if they're open to taking a peek, our natural healing community is what we call our ATM group. So if they say yes, I say, wonderful. The video is actually in our natural healing community. Let me go ahead and give you access to it, and I'll be right back. So I go on in. The ATM stands for add, tag, message. So I add them to the group and I tag them on the pinned post. Our pinned post just tells them a little bit about what's in the group. It's almost like a index of all the, if they want a migraines testimony, click here. If they're looking for a colitis testimony, click here. So they can just sort of see what's there. But we then are just actually tagging them on that initial video, either the 3-minute video or the 8-minute video. And then I'll come on back into Messenger. I'll say, perfect, here you go. And I actually include the link to that post that has the video to make it easier, instead of just having them find the notification they were added to the natural healing community and tagged on that video. I just like to make it easy. So I message them back, here you go, here's the link, right? So if it's the link to the long URL on the post, they'll be able to actually watch that third-party tool or that video within Messenger. And then I always say something like, how soon would you, it's only whatever, it's only 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever yours is. How soon would you guess to be watching it so I know when to follow back up with you, because I'd love your feedback. We do want to know when to follow back up. Okay, so that's the next exposure, the natural healing community. Then I might say, maybe even a day later, say, hey, hey, Helen, just want to follow back up. First of all, again, thanks for being open to learning more. Thanks for agreeing to watch the video. I was just thinking how you would love hearing my friend Jill's testimony. It's pretty darn amazing. Like, you would love hearing it. I'll go ahead and I'll set up a three-way conversation to ask her to share. So then I might do that, set up a three-way conversation. Hey, Jill, this is my friend Helen. I was just telling her how amazing your testimony is. Do you mind sharing? And then she might share within that three-way chat. That's another exposure. So then I'm going to follow back up with that person, see, hey girl, did you just want to check in? Did you get a chance to peek at the video? And from there, it might lead to another exposure, right? She might say, yeah, and actually I was even thinking a little bit more about the business side. I'll be like, oh, really? Great. We've got a great video. It's about 10 minutes. It goes much more into how the compensation plan works, how we grow our businesses online. Let me go ahead and send you that video. So that video is already in our natural healing community. So I'm not necessarily going to tag her in another video. I'm just going to go ahead and find that video link. She has access to all the videos now that she's in that group, but I'll do it all through Messenger. Here you go. Here's a link to the compensation video. Or it might be that she was saying, whatever. Oh, I didn't know that this product also helped with migraines. I'll be like, oh my gosh, yes. And you need to hear my friend Sharon's story. Like, literally, she would have about 15 migraine days a month. It would make her go blind. You need to hear her story. Let me set up a three-way conversation so you can hear directly from her mouth. And that could be another exposure, right? So I set up that conversation. Hey, Sharon, this is my friend Helen. She also deals with migraines. I know she'd be blessed by hearing your story, and she might have specific questions. Do you mind sharing? All right. Then from there, maybe the person's still hemming and hawing, and they've never even tasted our product. I might say, you know what? I know you have never even, tasted the product. How about I go ahead and pop a sample in the mail? What's your address? And we're assuming this person hasn't said yes yet, right? Sometimes they'll say yes right away. They watch that video in the natural healing community and they're done. But we do need to, as a business owner, get our head around what might the exposure process be. Of course, not everyone is good. It's not going to be the same for everyone. Probably rarely does it go step by step by step like this, but we do need to think it through. So then another one might be, we have 2 times a month, we have our live events within our natural healing community. So it might be one night where it's all, it's like 3 different people talking about their colitis and their IBS stories with a little education from our functional medicine practitioner about like what might be the underlying causes. So I might say, hey, we've got an event, actually an online event next Thursday. It's going to be blah, blah, blah. You're already in the natural healing community, but I just want to give you a heads up. It's going to be done as a Facebook Live. I think you'll really love it. Do you think you might be able to take a couple minutes to watch it or something like that? That might be the next exposure. But our key is that, unfortunately, what we do, and I am totally guilty of this, is I let too much time go in between each exposure. Because what if we can actually walk folks through all of our ideal exposures within like a week or 2, 7 to 14 days, instead of months and months, right? Do you ever have where you're like, oh my gosh, it's been forever since I followed up with this person? Yes. So that is really the key, is to condense the time in between the exposures. Not where they feel like pressured at all, but where we just are like holding their hand to the next thing they might want to see and the next thing they might want to see. So please know they're not going to feel pressured, but we do need to have a bit more of a sense of urgency, because that's what's most successful, is when you can condense the time in between the exposures, in between those 4 to 8 exposures that they might need, instead of dragging it out. And definitely having some way then to keep yourself organized, right? Where is someone in the process and in the exposures? But today, I want to focus on the exposure piece. I want you to think through and comment below. If your next prospect needed 5 exposures, which would be your ideal or possible sequence? And you can choose whether this is going to be a product prospect, a business prospect. It might be the five same exposures regardless. But if you ask them, your very next, this is a fictional person, right? If you ask them, hey, are you open to learning more? And they say yes, what could be a scenario of the 5 exposures that you're going to walk them through, exposure to exposure to exposure, that can make a lot of sense, that can give them the information and the feeling and the emotion that they would need to make a decision, whether yes or no, where they feel like they had enough information to know whether this was going to meet an unmet need that they had, that they were willing to tackle, to solve. All right, guys, cannot wait to see what your exposure process is. And again, we got a ton more to cover in the upcoming days. So glad you're part of this challenge. So glad you're part of the Yoga Pants CEO amazing community. And you guys have a great day. Bye, y'all.